think it's kind of, this is kind of not a real potent one. I'm not sure exactly if it's very in its line of sight. All right, if we could get everyone back in the room. All right, as everyone makes it back to your seats, we'll call our annual meeting to order so that we can get the key word, as Greg said, was short. Everybody likes long congregational meetings, don't they? Never have, never will. This might work. There we go. A couple things we'll go over. We'll give a general recap of the year. We'll go over our financials, give you an update in our youth ministry, talk about the state. I don't know why those numbers came in there. It doesn't look like that on the other slide. It was baffling to me last night, and I said, forget it. State of our church, you'll get the general idea. We'll do our ballot. And then we'll take some questions and comments and talk and find out direction, what you want to do, and where we want to be for next year. Recap of 2025. We have 45 members. That's the actual members of the church that are voting. We have quite a few more that we classify as family, that aren't in the membership. So if you're family and you want to be members, the process is simple. We go through a new member orientation. It takes usually one afternoon after church. We sit down for a couple hours. We go over the history of the covenant, what we're all about, so that you understand what you're getting into. We explain what it means to be a membership right out of the bylaws. The membership committee will interview you, talk to you, and explain the responsibilities of membership, and then we'll bring it to the leadership team, vote on it, and then present you in the membership. In practical purpose, what does it do different to you? Absolutely nothing. You come to church, you do everything you do, except today when you have that ballot to vote. So if you're wondering about who got the ballot, it's that member part, and membership is open to everyone. The biggest area of growth in our church has been fall in for coffee. John, do you want to? Oh, and one rule, if you're going to speak, you either have to come up to the mic or we have a handheld mic, but you have to use one of the two because we are live streaming, so members of our church that aren't here can see this.
Okay, as far as the fall in for coffee, we started with 3 people, and we're now at 40. So, and, you know, the group has done a lot as far as just trying to help each other, to understand what their focus was when they were in the military. And as any veteran would know, there's a lot of things that we can talk to each other about. It's not just for guys. We have 3, I think it's 3 now, 3 women on the group itself. So it's been good. Granted, I kind of draw them in because I have coffee for them, and then I also have donuts for them. So, and we do once a month, we give them a breakfast, so a full-on breakfast. And that's about it. So.
Awesome. Perfect, thank you. It's a great program. If you know any vets, the overwhelming majority of them are not members of our church. And so if you know a vet, send them over to us. The other part, too, is we're starting more discipleship connected to it, but we're leaving the intent of how we started this whole program the same, and we're adding that Warriors for Christ small group after the study for those that want to learn and dive deeper into Christ. And it's been, I'd say, really well received. It was a great surprise that we had some people that when they start talking in the context of Jesus, there's some amazing things that we got talking about. So it was I was very gratified to have that group start. And that's open to anybody, where it's a great place where we all intermix. So if you're not a night small group person, this is your opportunity for one of the day small groups in addition to Wednesday morning. We've added several small groups. Warriors for Christ is one. Gather at the cafe. John has been doing for over a year now. The AM coffee at Starbucks on Wednesday mornings at what time? 8:30. So that's a small group that meets. The Bun Guards are starting a group today, actually. They have a small group up at their house. It is over in Sonora. So if you don't have any friends what do they tell me now? You have to say across the river. If you have anybody across the river, it's a lake, but who's counting? If you have someone across the lake, then we can we have a place for them in Sonora with Gary and his group. Hopefully Gary's watching us on live stream and he'll see that too. Support for the youth ministry has been awesome, and we've added that into our budget. So this is the first year we've actually budgeted money for a youth coordinator. So thank you, church. Because of your generous donations into youth, we now have in the budget a youth coordinator. I'm trying to figure out intermediate steps before we find someone, because that process takes a while. But we might be able to bring someone on intermediately and have them work to help us move forward in that while we're waiting, because we have the money for it. Building our worship team, Pam has been working hard on that, and Greg, do you have anything? I don't want to put you on the spot. Is there anything you want to say or anything that is pertinent?
We folded in a lot of really nice things. Thanks to Pastor David, he's found some.
Nobody will hear you.
Thanks to Pastor David, he's folded in a lot of really nice elements to help us build the sound a little bit and fill it out, as we also are waiting on God to expand our worship team out. So if you know of anyone who's interested in music, if you yourself are interested in music, just call me. And we're excited to keep growing it according to God's plan. So just, if you can pray for us, keep us in prayer, and that God guides us the direction he wants us to go in worship of Jesus.
Amen to that. So the worship team's really important. I think, how did you guys like it? Everyone has been making comments, and the comments we heard the most was we want it more upbeat. Some of the things that are more the current songs, like we'd hear on The Message, and then a faster tempo, physically a faster tempo. Is that working? Does it seem like that's moving the direction you guys want to go, the songs? This is the part where you go, yay, or you go, no. That's what helps us. It's a feedback part. And the cafe, if you haven't stuck your head in there, everything's kind of laid out. We've just got to get the cabinets hung. So all the cabinets are in, the refrigerator's there now. We have pretty much a functioning cafe now. So thank you for everyone. John's done a tremendous amount of work. Andrew is here quite a bit of times doing the heavy lifting. Brian Stetzman has helped us move the stuff from kind of the whole thing from the cabinets, taking them down at our house and then bringing them here and repurposing them. That's the word now that people do on all the DIY shows, is we repurposed our cabinets into the cafe. So it's just a matter of getting those hung, and then we've got that whole project finished. So thank you for everyone that has been part of that. Our financials, all the completed budget, everything you have is on the Church Center app. So if you want to see all the details, you can go to the Church Center app. All of those are posted in there. And you'll see every bit down to every line item in there. Our financials is our 2024 budget was under budget by about $4,400. We didn't go over. Our 2025 budget is a balanced budget of $147,000. Our income is Tithing is $135,000, what we're budgeting, and $12,000 for continued support for our youth. So there's the important part of we're hoping that people just didn't make, because youth ministries isn't a one-time contribution, it's a continuing effort. So we hope people continue to give generously. Those two aspects between what we expect in tithing and youth come up to $147,000. Our expenses, the broad categories are capital improvements. There's $2,000. The ministries are $24,100. Mission partnership is where we pay our tithing out, $14,700. And I'm very proud to say this is like the third year in a row that the church is tithing back 10% to our covenant, to the ECC and our conference. Not 10% each, but 10% split between the two. It's 65-35 split. Administration is all the office things and things we do, $18,875. Facilities are the one that is expensive. A couple key things, our utilities and our water here in Angels Camp is terribly expensive. Also, insurance is a huge cost in there. So we've got $51,200. We've left room for insurance, knowing that at some point we will probably be kicked out of insurance and will be kicked onto the unfair plan. Many other churches are already there. Personnel costs are $32,000. And then we balanced out the budget with putting some money into additional money into our investment account, and that gives a balanced budget at $147,000. Now, all the details are on the complete budget worksheet is in the Church Center app, as is all of these documents. So you can have access to any of that. It's there right now. Just go to any group resource page, and then you can look at all the public financials. There we go. End of year profit and loss statement. We had $131,962 in tithing, and we look at tithing and gifts separately. The gifts were, a lot of this was the youth. We had $11,094, and then some unanticipated income. We were able, through a lot of help with our conference and being at the Midwinter Conference last year, we were able to find an IRS refund that we didn't have. And there's actually, in addition to that, another $2,300. So we got right at $14,000 that we didn't have budgeted, and we wouldn't have got had we not been at the right place at the right time. So there's value of going to the conferences. But there's a lot of value in our conference and the ECC. The chief of finance for our denomination is the one that helped get us that. Real simply, had we not been at a meeting when our conference was talking about this, it's money we would have lost. So it's a great opportunity in there. An additional source of funding that we have in our budget is we've taken the funds that have been just sitting there and we put them into an investment account. So just this year, even though it was late in the year when we moved it, we made over $2,000 in investments. We anticipate we'll get an additional about $5,000 a year just by managing our funds much better than we have in the past. So there's additional money that we brought in there. The total income we had was $154,240. Our total expenses was $116,074. Now, some of the income is higher than we budgeted because we did not budget for giving or the IRS. So there's considerably more income than we had budgeted for. The year-end balance sheet, our checking account has $38,349. Our building value, we just put a rough estimate of $450,000. Our investment account now has $41,949. That gives a total of $530,298. Our liabilities and equity, the remodel loan is $112,137, and the equity which is the difference between what the building's worth and the taking away the remodel loan and then adding in the two accounts. That comes to 418. So the financials balance at 530,298. Youth ministry. We do have that part-time youth ministry coordinator. We are actively seeking it, but like in an interim step, we're looking to hire someone that can start working on that youth ministry about 2 days, 1.5 to 2 days a week, and mostly promoting our services, going out into the public, figuring out where we can find youth, how do we get them here, what kind of programs do we need to set up, coordinating how those program structures get together, not a teacher necessarily doing things, but a supervisor or coordinator that's overseeing the project and helping us grow that project. So that's something we're looking at. We're talking to the school, looking for teachers, someone that's maybe a young teacher that's interested in doing some Christ-centered ministry, and seeing if at least part-time on a temporary basis that we can get those here. So this is where you come in to help. Start sharing this around. Talk to them and say, hey, we've got a funded position that we'd like to hire someone. So have them talk to the leadership team or myself, anybody on leadership. If you find someone out there, you'll be able to find people far easier than we will. But this is because of your generous donations. We're able to do this, and this is really super exciting for me. The state of our church. So where are we at right now? Our financials are steady. Our church growth in numbers is steady, but in age is doing what? It's increasing. That's a little something that we do need to talk about, because as we age, we kind of go down a path. If we don't get younger people coming in, as our average age starts climbing up and up, you can kind of figure out that that's not a good trajectory, because it's not sustainable. So we need to start getting younger people in so that we keep those numbers in, from growing to where we'll just start losing members and slowly the church will die. That's something that we really need to work on. How do we do that? We start telling everyone the best way to get people to church is each one of you. We can reach out into the community in a lot of different ways. Veronica is working on a number of outreach projects this year and taking that on, trying to get us better known in the community. But nothing beats just word of mouth, sharing where you go to church with a friend, inviting them here. That is the best part. One of the things I wanted to talk about is I want everybody thinking, and we're going to do a leadership, now that we'll have a new people on leadership, we're going to do a annual planning seminar and developing our why in February. So one of the things we want to do is we want to become more welcoming. We want to be a church where people feel welcome. I'm going to be outright honest. Some of the people that have came a couple times and left, their feedback to me is they did not feel welcome. And that's something that we need to work on. We need to become a little bit more welcoming. We need to be, and especially for young families. Young families are very unforgiving. They will give you one chance. If they walk in the door and look and they don't feel like it's a welcome, it's a place that they are going to be able to be part of, they will walk out and we'll never see them again. So how do we do that? I think part of it is we just talk to each other and we figure out what can we do, and watch each other and learn about what we can do to be welcoming. We've had these talks. We're very friendly with each other. We know each other. We're very friendly within ourselves, but our challenge, and I'm being honest, is outside of these groups, we're not so good at being welcoming to people outside the group.
Okay, I don't have a mic, but I think part of it is that in the beginning of our service, we should have like a meet. Well, is it on? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. So I just remember in the past that in the very beginning of the service, before we even sang, we had a meet and greet your congregation. People walked across the room to greet people. Here? Okay. So we had like I call it a meet and greet. It's prior to the service that it starts. I mean, the pastor goes up there before he asks for the worship team to come up, and we all like hugged and greeted each other and walked across the room and introduced ourselves to people that we'd never seen before. And I think that is missing in our service. And then, okay, this is really hard for me to say, Pastor, but I think that you need to be, instead of running around, and I know you have a lot on your plate, but to meet everybody that walks through the door, you yourself. But I do think, that meet and greet at the beginning of each service is important. It connects people from here to over there. Okay, can everybody hear me? Okay, here you go. I'm done.
If we don't use a mic, everybody online, then they can't hear you. Because we can hear in here, but they can't hear you. So there's just a big dead spot, and people go, "Oh, we lost the." Yeah, and you're actually right. They'll turn off. Some really good points. We can talk about that with leadership. So we want to talk about, do we want to put in our order of service a meet and greet before service? There's some good parts of that, certainly. I'll pick your brain a little how that's worked in the past. Greg's got a lot of experience in how those have worked into other churches. And I know, talking to my other pastors, there's really both in the spectrums with that, because it can go kind of south, but it can be used. It has to be pretty directed into how we do it. Like Kathy said, if we do a meet and greet and we got a new people and everyone goes and hugs everybody but the new people, it actually goes terribly wrong and they go terribly out the door. So that's where, that's good advice. It'll bring, it's part of, you segued into the message. I totally agree with you. I'd love to be meeting people there. The reality simply is we don't have people stepping up to take things. So to get everything done that has to happen, all of our audio-visual, all of our audio, I end up running around a lot. And I really don't want to do that, but just simply there's nobody that steps up to do it. So this service starts at 8 o'clock. Brenda and I are usually here before 8 o'clock, making sure all the slides, and we've usually spent a day before prepping all the slides and getting it all ready. None of this stuff happens without a lot of effort. So every time I'm doing some of that stuff, that means less time I'm doing being actually a pastor than what I should be doing. So that's a great segue, and it's a great way to say, we need you to step up. We need people to take on some of these things.
How about a permanent sign out on the highway during the week? No one knows the church is back there because you can't see it.
That's a really good question. It's asked a question about signage on the highway. It's on.
Oh, I gotta say it again. Permanent sign out on the highway. During the week, that temporary sign's gone. No one knows the church is back here because you can't see it because the trees are in the way.
Okay. Then you have to get it back and turn the mic back on.
Here, I might add something too. When new people come, families, they walk in and they see that there aren't other families with children, and I know that's a real problem. So then a lot of them are going to churches that have a lot of families because they want their kids to have friends. So that's kind of a problem, and I don't know how we're going to solve it because we came from a church that closed down because everybody was old. So, so we've experienced that.
I think I have sat here for 2 years now. I think to meet and greet, we should move around a little bit. I feel ensconced here. And I like being in here because I get used to the angles and all that. But I think if we moved around a little bit more and then we do a meet and greet, we would be shuffling the people around and we would get to meet everybody that way. Just an idea.
What about invitation cards? Like little cards that we could make up that we could carry with us. And if we meet somebody, we could say, hey, by the way, this is my church, and this is an invitation to you. And it would have the church's information, phone number, time, just like we do on our program. I've seen that work before because you hand out these cards and you tell everybody this is your mission. You have to give out 3 cards this week or 2 cards this week, you know. Young, old, friends, neighbors, people you meet, just somebody you meet somewhere. That way you get new blood going because we do need younger families, youth. Yep. Tell them what we offer.
We'll have time for more feedback, so think about these things as we're going because you'll have a chance at the end to come back and circle back to these. These are all the very, very, really good thoughts, and we'll build on those. New and young families, that's what our goal is for this coming year. The focus of this church is going to be around growth in new and young families. Is how do we get new and young families in? How do we continue to build that? That'll be our primary focus. So you're going to keep us coming back to that. One of the things that'll help us is getting a person hired that can come in there and work. Another state of our church is participation in ministries that we're starting to see more and more people start to join a ministry. I would encourage that people continue to join ministries, join up in a small group, get involved in those. Those are fun and essential for growth in the church. So they really help us out a lot. And then this is a tough one from any church or any organization, embracing change. None of us want to do it. In particular, older demographics tend to be more resistant to change, and that's something that we have to change. If we don't continue to change and evolve, we will have problems going forward. So I'm hoping that we'll continue to embrace change and move forward. I'm excited. We've got a good ballot. We have 2 of our board members will come back for another chance to have fun with us. And John took a 1-year hiatus, but is going to come back to us. So you can vote for up to 3. You can vote for 1, you can vote for 2, you can vote for 3, you can vote for none. It's up to you. The nominating committee is something that we haven't put on the ballot lately, but we're back into doing what our bylaws tell us to. And that just says these folks, they won't have anything to do until next fall. But Brenda has volunteered and Sue Raggio has volunteered to be on there. One of them will be on a 1-year term. Sue is interested in possibly coming on the leadership team next year. So she may be the one. Brenda and her will eventually, you two will work this part out because it's up to you. But if she's going to come on, she probably will be on a 1-year term. Brenda will be on a 2-year term. Full disclosure, I told my wife, don't worry, it's only for 1 year. So somehow I've snuck that. She's probably just finding, oh, wait a minute, 2 years, what did you say there? I'm getting that look. You can't tell that on live stream, but if we had a camera to show you, you would know I'm getting that look. Yeah, Xavier, don't do a close-up on Brenda. I'll be really in trouble after that. So you'll vote for 2, and then the budget is a yes or no. So those are the budget, those are the items for the ballot. There was, back to the state of the church. I kind of blew past that one a little bit. I wanted to talk a little bit about storms we've been through. Every church goes through storms. Every church goes through challenges. Every organization does that. We looked biblically, these have been around forever. We went through storms last year. There was definitely some storms we weathered. But folks, there's a time as Christians when we say, all right, our foot is firmly on the foundation, which is Jesus Christ. The storm, whether it's here present or not, doesn't matter. We have to move forward. So this next year, we'll be talking as a leadership team about now moving forward. So some of these storms are very personal. Some people know the particulars of some of these. Some people do not. It's not particulars that need to be shared, but it's what we need to know is, as a congregation, there's some things that guide us. The biggest one is Jesus Christ. And he guides us in discipleship. He guides us in love thy Father and love thy neighbor and go out and make disciples. And there's a time when we say, okay, we've went through it, we've mourned, we've cared, but now we need to move forward with unconditional forgiveness and moving forward no matter what. And I've heard, we've talked, well, the what ifs. Well, what if this happened? Here's the short answer to that. When it comes down to forgiveness, thank goodness for me, there is no what ifs. God says he forgives us unconditionally, and so should we. We should not judge. It doesn't mean that we're always making sure we're protecting our church, we're protecting every person in our church, but within that, there's a point where we just got to move forward in forgiveness and put the things behind us behind. And that's what we'll talk about more on leadership, especially in February, with moving forward through that. So all the people that were part of this, thank you for all your participation. There was a lot of people you didn't see, from Brian Murphy from our conference, from Jed Hollenbach, from Good Sam, from several of my military chaplains. They were all part of counseling and guidance. None of these things were happening behind the scenes that most people did not know about. But you can rest assured that we get tremendous support. Me as a pastor, I get tremendous support, not just from my wife, but from our Evangelical Covenant Church, from our conference, and from the military chaplains that I've developed relationships with. So through these storms, we're going to go forward. What would I like to see in the state of our church? That we all come together and accept some changes. There are some things that we do that we change, and we're trying to make things better. Some of them work, some of them don't. If they don't work, what will we do? We'll change again. But if we don't try some things, you'll never find out. Pam is continuously trying new songs, different tempos. We're trying different things that we're, using some technology to help us to build our worship team. We've moved some of the chairs around. I know this is sometimes stressful for folks, but there was purpose in it. And there's purpose in also how we're making this room, which is a difficult room at best, to change over from a sanctuary to an eating facility. So we're trying to, you don't know behind the scenes, John and I spent days setting up tables and saying, these chairs don't touch. So when we say, here's what we're doing, don't touch those chairs, we really mean it. Because we actually worked to say the tables go here, and I know sometimes people, well, don't do that anymore, please. We work this out, and we've got it all set up to where it comes out, and it goes back really simply. Because that's the kind of life John and I have. Hey, let's spend the day rearranging tables and see how this can work. Strangely enough, him and I have fun doing this. Maybe that says something of our character. Maybe we're just weird. I don't know. But yeah, that is all of the things that we're doing. The youth, let's just really do it. And Kathy brings out a good point. Let's purposefully, when a new person comes to church, introduce yourself. Now, a bit of caution. Don't smother them. Don't go over there and say, oh, please, we're so glad you're here. We need new families, which I know you're not going to do that. But we got to use some really good caution in just being your best self and friendly to them. We all have people that we tend to gravitate toward every week and chat with. We all do, me included. But sometimes we got to conscious go, okay, like Tim said, I haven't talked to Bill today. I'm just going to go over and sit by Bill and talk to him because I haven't talked to him today. And make those different things, especially with new families. New families like to be welcomed and they like to be asked, how did you find our church? What would you like to see? How would this church serve you? What are you looking for as a young family? And then be honest, we don't have that yet, but we need to, and we're working on that. And that's how we can start to get those young families. It doesn't take much. If we get one family, they tend to bring other families, and then it starts to grow. So that's kind of where we're going with all of that. Questions and answers and comments. Please, John's got the mic. If you're going to talk, please do so on the mic and ask questions of the whole leadership team. So Carrie, John, Gloria, Kathy, we're all here. Ask any questions. If you want to ask questions of the candidates, you're more than welcome to ask questions of the candidates.
Okay, so
that's the way they work.
So just, I and the people that work in the pantry would like a refrigerator. So if anybody has one that they're not using, we would really appreciate it because we can store things in there. Goods, we have a small freezer, but if the refrigerator had a freezer, then we could use that freezer instead of having the freezer, and it might be less expensive to run just the refrigerator. And please keep in your mind our pantry because we had a lot of families, 72 people or 79 people for Christmas and 30 yesterday. So we're reaching a lot of people in the community that might need just a one-time help or a continuous help every month. So thank you.
Any other questions, comments, questions about the direction? And you don't have to just end them today. Use your leadership team for feedback because we'll be doing a whole planning meeting in February to set our direction, develop our why. If you've never done that, the why is Simon Sinek is a person that developed this concept of put your why first. Don't develop all your plan and then say, this is why we do it. You have to ask the question, why up front? If you can develop your why do we exist? Then we build our programs around that. So we'll be looking at everything we're doing, developing our why and our strategic plan going forward. Questions? John will bring you the mic. Just use the mic, hold it real close to your mouth, please.
Is this youth coordinator going to be salaried or, okay.
Yep.
And they'll just be working maybe 2 days a week? Okay, that's what I want to know.
What we're budgeting for salary, and we have the salary budgeted because you're giving, and then in it there's enough to fund 2 days a week as a part-time person, and that's where our starting spot will be. Of course, when more families come in, tithing should, in theory, go up. As that tithing, in theory, goes up, then we can afford more time as into our youth coordinator. That'll be where that focus is. And if we could get them to full time, and there's enough, because there's enough for them to do that, that's what we'll do. It may take a year or so, but we can work that way. But the money is there now. It's in this year's budget that you'll be voting on. There's enough for 2 days a week. Good question.
Pastor and Brenda, I just want to thank you for everything you do for our church. You're doing a wonderful job. It's not easy being a pastor. And when I think how close this church came to closing down, only a few more votes and we would have been closing down. I'm just so grateful. I think we're doing quite well. And thank you to everybody else, the musicians and the, all the other Carrie and all the food. And I think we're doing well. So we just want to thank you for that.
The ones I really admire are people like Greg that's done this for more than 20 years, more than how many years? How many that you want to even admit to? That's it. It's a tough job, and I really admire the people that have done their whole career. I kind of came late to this, and it's still incredibly fun for me, but it is a lot of work. We're really blessed to have Greg here that we can benefit by his experience. I use him as a sounding board all the time, so I'm really grateful to have a friend and somebody that I can use in Greg and all the whole leadership team. It's not one person, it's a whole village. I hate that saying. It's a whole team, it's a whole family here at the Hills. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Always strikes fear in my heart when my wife puts her hand up. And he walks away.
So I want to thank you, everyone, for your wishes and just your kind thoughts and everything, and everybody that was thanking me when I wasn't here. And I've been listening to all the comments and stuff, and yes, David's a great pastor, and he has his moments where he vents and he gets all off on a tangent and whatever. But, everybody has a lot of great ideas, but when you bring ideas forward, also be thinking in the back of your mind, is this something I can do myself and help the church go forward with it? Because this man does not need one more thing on his plate. Or I swear. He wants to be out greeting people and to being able to talk to people, but he can't because he's doing this and he's doing that and he's running back and forth and he's not able to do what he is supposed to do. So he loves all of you and he will do anything for this church, and he has been in many capacities. I don't think anybody really even understands, but if you can just keep that in mind and just help him, help the church, okay? And just love you all.
Any other questions or comments? We worked really hard to get a budget that was balanced. There's always give and take in there. Some things are kind of scary in terms of just how much they cost. We're in an economy right now that is very difficult, to say in the least, especially in this state when it comes to insurance and taxes. But make sure that know that all the churches, the pastors, we're all talking among each other and trying to find innovative ways. And we have really great support from our covenant through our covenant properties on how we go forward with our physical building. Oh, and the two projects, just an update, we are still trying to get daycare or a preschool, something that is still on working behind the scenes. There's just, the conditions haven't came right there, but we're still pushing for that. We're still trying to make sure that the realtors know that we would love to buy them out and expand into the other building. We're praying that that'll happen, hopefully in the next year or so. That's something that we could really use the extra space, because if you're here on Fall In for Coffee, you'll realize we are out of space, which is a good place to be. And if we do a daycare, we're going to be really stretched to do it in this building. So that would be something that would really open up those opportunities without having to bring a portable room onto our property next door. Any other questions? Please fill out your ballot while you're finishing this spot. We need to get those. If you'll fill that out, we'll pick it up. Then the last thing is, we'll, as we're asking the last questions, we'll get a quick count of the ballot. Our bylaws say that we just need a majority of those present here to vote. We've got 24 people, so as long as we're getting 13 votes for each one of the categories, those things will pass, and we'll move into next year. So if somebody can pick up, John, or if somebody wants to pick up all the ballots, and if you just want to pull them over in the corner of the room, two of you kind of count them and tell us what the numbers are for each person. And all you have to do is the threshold with 24 people voting that were present together is 13. So as long as you get 13, you just have to say the person or the initiative passed. All of our financials are up on if you can't find that, see me after church. I'll show you how you can get to that. We try to keep those up as timely as we can every month, so that what you'll see that Carrie has for the minutes is the same thing that's posted, so you can look at our financials going through the year. Those are all up there. And if they're all checked, it makes it easier for you to count. But I'm just trying to fill in some time while they count those. And then we can let us know on our leadership team, nominating committee, and our budget for the year. No other questions or comments? I like those. Those are great ideas. I wrote these down. We'll figure out together how we can do a meet and greet. What does that look like, and how do we make that all work? Do we if we do it right the first thing in the service? Do we do it after the songs? We'll figure out our order of service and then put that in. I'm willing to give that a try for a few months and see how that works with everyone. And then if it's one of those everyone's feeling like this feels good, that's great. And if it doesn't, we'll change it again. Invitation cards, I think, are a great idea. We were working on that. Judy Robertson was working on that in the past. So we'll see if we can pick that up again and have some simple cards that just tell the basics with the QR codes. They can scan them and find out more information, and it serves as an invitation to get you in and know. Did you guys get them counted? And what be the results? Everything's a yes. So for all the persons and the budget. All right. So John, Kathy, and David, you're elected to the leadership team. Brenda and Sue, you're elected to our nominating committee. And our budget's passed for the year. Barring any questions, if you want to come and talk to me afterwards, we'll be here for a little bit. So you can come and ask that. Otherwise, would anybody like to close us in prayer? If not, I will. Oh, Carrie already wrote it down, so she doesn't have to rewrite. Heavenly Father, thank you for our Grace Hills family, and thank you for this church. may we continue to reach to the community to find people and bring them to you. Show us your pathway, enlighten us in everything we do, that we may serve you, that we may bless you, that we may bless each other, and we may be a bright light shining in our community. And because of you, Jesus, is the reason for the light. Not because anything we do or the church does, but we do it because of you, Jesus. We pray that we have health all this next year, and that we have healing, and we have people coming to Christ, and young families, we pray, that come to our church and just enlightens us with the laughter of the children. In your name, Jesus, we pray. Amen. This concludes our meeting for the year. We'll have a quarterly meeting in April.